a mixture of Monster Hunter World and the handheld Monster Hunter games we had on the 3DS, kind of mix of both. But it's still Monster Hunter. So when you get into it, you're going to go into monsters, you're going to grind. Same type of combat, same weapons.
Did you see that article this week that came out that said it's not good for newcomers?
Yeah, that's the Kotaku article. Which was, I have a little bit of gripe with that.
It was opposite to the article that I shared with you the week before. It was saying how good it was. I was like, what is even happening?
So I read both articles, by the way. If you are willing to learn the systems and tutorial, get past like 2 hours of the game and kind of get what's going on, then it's really nice to newcomers. If you just want to go into a multiplayer game, nothing to do with learning anything, then you're not going to have a good time. It's not one of those games you can really jump in as a newcomer and figure everything out. No, you have to go through the tutorials. There's many kind of tutorial boxes and pop-ups within the first hour and a half. That's okay with me. I kind of have to understand its systems within those hour, 2 hours or whatever. Once I figured out that, and I got my weapon. So my favorite weapon right now is dual blades, because I like things pretty fast and like making sure I can dodge the monsters pretty well. I know other people like larger weapons so they can like do heavy hitting on the monsters, like tons of damage. I know some other people like range. So I love how the combat it's the same as previous Monster Hunter games, where it suits your style and you can switch whenever you want, right? You're not embedded into one weapon. You can do all sorts of different weapons. Another big thing about this game, which is, I think is better than Monster Hunter World, is the kind of the versatility of the game, how fast you're going through a mission. So you actually drop into a hub world, just like Monster Hunter World, and there's no load times in between these compartmentalized sections, but more open, and you could just go straight to the monster. You use the wire bugs a lot, and the wire bugs, you kind of like, it's like kind of a hook shot in the air where you can just...
Do you find it hard keeping up with the players in your party and stuff? Like if you all just go running at something?
No, because you either have a palamute with your dog, and so you guys all ride together, which is kind of dope. And then I gotten pretty okay with the wire bug acrobatic stuff, where I can go as high as I want to.
That was one of the things I was thinking about in the demo.
Yeah.
Because I was getting like weird, wacky places with the wire bug, and I was like, I wonder if you're all trying to go to a point and you all just kind of go off in your separate directions. Somebody goes high and somebody goes low. Like, do you lose each other? Does it even matter once you get there?
It doesn't really matter, because you're going to the monster you're going to hunt. And so however you go about it to get
Does it
there,
zap everybody to you like when they get there, or do you just have to wait for everybody to get there?
No, you don't have to wait or anything. It's all freeform, where like whoever's there, start attacking that monster, because you got a time limit to figure that. Or if you want to wait for your previous guys to come in to make sure everyone's attacking together, you could do that too.
How do you coordinate which monster you're going to attack?
Oh, so each mission, it's like you're gonna hunt this monster.
Okay, so it's linear, it's set, it's like laid out in front of you.
Right, you're in a hub world and you pick a quest that's either you're gonna hunt a large monster, you're gonna hunt small monsters, or you're gonna gather some resources in a hub world. And these these different kind of hunting areas. And so, okay, we're gonna choose this quest. It's the Aknosum in this first world, and so we're gonna do that.
Hang on, maybe I think I can ask my question better. What if you've already done the quest that somebody else hasn't done? Or like, who's the leader? How do you determine? Like, how do you squad up like that?
Well, you get to choose who the leader is. So I joined with Brendan one day, and so he was the party leader. So he chose the quest. And so I joined with him on that quest.
Okay, so there is a party leader.
You can do it multiple times. Like if you've already hunted a monster, you could just do it again.
Yeah.
Unless
everything
you didn't want to. This is the point I was kind of making.
Yeah.
Exactly. So everything about this is just repeatability. So if you do previous quests, that's fine, I think, because I just get more materials and just hanging out with other people in general. So
it's kind of like Anthem.
Monster Hunter is like, Anthem's kind of like Monster Hunter.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud. I'm just thinking in my own brain. Remember, I've never played Monster Hunter, I've never got into it. So I'm trying to relate.
I was like me. I was like, I was like, Earthbound's a lot like Undertale.
The other big thing that's always been in these games is the grinding and getting the material. So I beat this monster 5 times. I got my full armor set with my Palamute and with my Meowster, my Meowster mercenary, and it's so dope to have everything uniform, have all the weapons together. I love how the different monsters brings out different elements in my dual blades, and so it could be fire, it could be electric. My weapons also have like certain amount of sharpness, and so when you are on a mission, when you attack with melee weapons, your sharpness goes down, and you have to refill that gauge, and that takes amount of time. So there's a lot of different mechanics. I'm still trying to sync my stuff into. There's a lot of just different weapons I need to try as well. But so far, guys, this is good. I think I want to play this for the next until Monster Hunter Stories 2 hit, at least on the Switch.
Nice.
Like, this is gonna be my main game. I still want to finish Persona Strikers and do something with Bravely Default 2. But Monster Hunter is gonna be my evergreen game this year, where Excellent. I'm just gonna keep going back to it. And it's really not that bad if you're going into a mission. It can take 10 minutes. If you're on an easy mission, it can take the whole time 50 minutes if you're on a really hard mission. And I'm glad that this game allows you to do various difficulties depending on what you're in the mood for at the time. The single player and the multiplayer are kind of separate too. So you progress the single player missions by itself and try to progress through that. And then the multiplayer, they're the same quests and missions and stuff like that, but it's just with the multiplayer people, and they have different perks over there. And then another big thing is that there are different skills now. I can rotate with my dual wield. So X is like heavy attack, A is like light attack, and I switch that light attack skill. And it's really cool because it's either like I chain a light attack to the monster, but now I jump and fly around that monster. So there's just so many layers it keeps giving you, and I'm glad it's not like showing everything in front of you like right then and there. But it's just like, okay, you've been playing for 5 hours. Now let's add another thing in here and show you what else you can do with it. So I'm having a really good time.
Having a ball.
I'm so glad you're having fun with it.
Me too. Monster Hunter World, I mean, I liked it. I dropped off because I was playing on PC and I didn't have any other people playing on PC with me. Even though it was a really good game, it's just, I was like, I don't want to play by myself like all the time. But now in Monster Hunter, we got so many people in PSVG.
That's what I was just about to ask. How are the hunting parties going?
We haven't arranged a huge party yet, maybe this weekend. But I played with Brendan like for a couple hours on Sunday, and that was pretty dope.
What's the most number of people that you can have in one hunt?
I think four people. Someone correct me on it if I'm wrong, but I think it's 4 people.
Okay.
Into a mission.
We did open up a channel in the Discord, so we've got a tag. You can tag people if you're looking for a hunting party. We also have their own room where you can go and just talk about your awesome gear, I guess. Mm-hmm. According to Garrett,
we talk about everything in there. It's just like where we're at in the game. Some people talk about the rampage mode. That's kind of new. From what I'm reading and hearing, it's like it's kind of a cool like defense tower thing. Mm-hmm. Some people worried it was going to be very gimmicky. It's like, oh, they're just trying something new, but it sounds like it's pretty tense and pretty rewarding in the end. I was just about to play it, but we're recording the show right now, so I can't do that. I'll probably play it right after.
Nice.
I'm having a good time.
Well, I'm very excited for you, and I'm glad that we have somebody on the show that's covering this as a marquee release. I always hate it when there's a big release that, like, heaven forbid if Caroline like had quit before Animal Crossing, like Animal Crossing would have just launched, and I'm like, well, sorry, folks. So I like that very much. So maybe one day, Garrett. Probably not. Maybe one day.
No.
Probably not. All right, this week in Nintendo, let's talk about Fortnite's upgrade. They came out and they said they're making some updates to your save file, which will actually save you 140 megabytes to your save file. Or I mean to your to the installation via an upgrade to the renderer on Switch. A boost to resolution can now be found in both portable and dock modes. The portable mode is going from 1560p to 1170 by 660p.
You're not going to see that difference.
Docked goes from 1390 to 780. I mean, from 1390 780 to 1560 880. I saw the difference.
1000 and 1170 on a handheld.
There is a it's not like a drastic change, but it does look a little bit sharper, like the details. Like when you look at foliage, which like they have like the new wild update and stuff, like the trees look more realistic. They have more definition on the leaves and stuff. Instead of just kind of looking like, kind of like the blurry shape. Yeah,
green like, construction paper.
Yeah, they have like their own little shape now. So like I definitely noticed a difference. It's a marginal difference, but I noticed it. It's different.
Did they do this out of nowhere, or did they say that they were going to?
Just to me, I don't follow it as much as most, but I do try to keep following Fortnite, because I update Jack on this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm always watching Jack play. So I was following, and I didn't hear anything about this at all. And then, like, just the day it came out, they're like, hey, by the way, your game's better today. I was like, that's cool.
Trying to think about why. Why?
Why are they?
We said we wouldn't talk about it. Here I am. I'm the one bringing it up.
That Pikmin game is getting an update. Everybody was talking about what could it be and all that. Well, we now know what it, at least what we think it is in beta due to its alpha access over in Singapore where they're playing it. Pikmin app, as it's currently known, starts by giving players several Pikmin seedlings in an item bag. Seedlings then grow by absorbing step energy generated by you walking around with the app and can be plucked once enough energy has been accumulated for growth. They got Pikmin all different names and colors, the types that we've all known. There's also a new decor Pikmin, which you can either grow or find by interacting with them in certain locations that can like wear stuff. So you can have costumed Pikmin, which was funny to watch people talk about that on Twitter. They're like, I can't believe they're doing this. It's like, really? Come on. Come on. As players walk around the world, they'll discover new seedlings, pick up items along the way like fruit. Fruit converts into nectar, which you'll give to the Pikmin so they can bloom flowers, which will have petals that you can collect. And then flower planting is a walking mode that forms flower trails as you walk. There are currently no microtransactions in the beta game. So,
I think this will be something that I download to check out and maybe use it if I'm out for a walk or something like that. But I don't really find myself getting excited for this.
There was a part of me with the flower trail I was wanting to know, like, is it possible that a year after this game launches, like, you can open up and see a map of all the flower trails that everybody has walked?
I mean,
maybe.
That's kind of cool, right?
That could be interesting if it's different flower trails.
Does it store the flower trail, or is that just like a little thing that when you're playing you get to see, and then when you leave it erases?
I don't know if they would keep that kind of data.
That was the only thing I was really thinking.
Well, I guess it's just tracking history, right? You're literally changing the skin of a tracking history tracer with flowers.
Yeah,
because I thought that was cool.
You might be able to see your own. Your own. I don't know if. I mean, maybe they would let you share it.
Because I think it would be cool if they like share a screenshot and they're like, "Look at all the flowers that Pikmin walkers created" or something. Still not enough for me to play it. I mean, I'm not excited by any of this.
You're just looking at Pikmin and letting them grow. Is that how I'm?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there might be like an orange or something that you see in the AR that you can throw your Pikmin at.
Jeff Grubb's excited.
I'm sure he is.
Hey, that's right, Jeff Grubb. I'm excited. That's all that matters. Hey, there you go, Jeff. I'm sure you'll be doing all the flower trails out there in the 9 feet of snow that you're currently sitting on.
Oh, no.
Still.
Yeah, I could see myself booting it up if I'm already out for a walk. I don't really see myself purposely going out and playing this.
Yeah.
I would be curious to what this looks like because, I mean, it just doesn't sound like a mobile game at all. It's just taking care of your Pikmin
And that's what
And-
Miyamoto was really kind of referring
Yeah.
to, right? He was like, it's like an experience. They were trying to,
Right,
it's like
it's
a
an
separate
experience.
thing. It's a separate thing. I was actually thinking it'd be more like fitness based, and maybe it will be. I was thinking it'd be more of like a long-term pedometer or something like that.
Like a fitness app, but with a Pikmin skin on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll definitely count your steps, but
Yeah.
maybe not heart rate or anything like that.
Anyway, please be excited. Now for a topic that Jeff Grubb might actually want to chime in on. E3 is considering putting parts of its digital show behind a paywall, was the story that came out earlier today. E3 then came out after the story came out, like very shortly, 20 minutes later. They're like, no, it's free for all attendees. But I do think it's worth pointing out, they still did not say that there wouldn't be a pay for something.
I'm sure there will be for them to fund the event. There will probably be a tier where maybe you get access to some kind of demo, exclusive demos or something. Like they're not going to charge to make people see the trailers and stuff.
So
You don't think?
Let's talk about
Okay.
So this article came out from the Video Games Chronicle, and they said that, like, hey, E3 is considering putting demos behind a $35 paywall for the event. And very quickly, as I was talking about, and I actually reached out to Jeff and was talking about it in our Discord a lot, people were really mad. Like
Yeah,
people were like,
surprisingly
this
angry.
is awful. This is terrible. And I was a little taken aback because, well, as listeners to our show have known, because I've got years of evidence you can pull from this, I love the idea of E3 at home. This is like kind of my dream since I started podcasting. I'm actually always wondered why E3 was so focused on a convention center. It's like, this is gaming. We all have boxes connected to the internet, connected to our TVs. Why aren't all of us in on this fun? So the article that came out said, like, they're going to release an app. They're going to have demos through GeForce Now, I guess, through NVIDIA, where you could demo some of the early stuff using the cloud. So obviously you need good internet and all that, and it would be behind a paywall. My take, when I've read the first article, I glanced through it, read through the highlights, my take was, how cool would it be if I paid the ESA $35 and I got to play some show floor demos through the cloud, and I maybe got to sit in on like an exclusive interview or a panel or a developer interview
Or a showcase of a
I think all
publisher.
I never thought the showcases would be behind the wall.
Well, not the big showcase.
there's no
I mean
way.
the
I
very
th-
small
I
invite
think-
only ones.
that was everybody's first idea. You mean I got to pay $35 to see Xbox do? Yeah, I never
That
even
would be dumb.
I never even thought that
I
was even
wouldn't.
possible. Like that's the whole point of E3 is to make that as big as many people as possible. So I realized quickly, I was like, ooh, I should have maybe, I guess, noted that. But so assuming that all the showcases would be public and free, you put some demos available, you let people have access to it. Maybe you have like I said, an exclusive interview, like maybe Suda51 sits down and answers questions or something like that, right? You do something like that. I was even thinking like, I floated on Twitter, like what if you could pay more to even get like a swag bag, you get like a t-shirt or a wristband or like any of the stuff they normally do. Like I get it. It's weird, right? Because they can't have people, but they have to make up for what going on 2 years now of lost revenue. Like, that hurts them. Like I wasn't opposed to paying for it.
Wasn't E3 like one of their major revenue streams?
Yeah, no, it funded a lot of their stuff. Yeah, that was the big one.
And they're and they're the lobbyist for any gaming, right? For our government.
Yes, they mainly they oversee the ratings board, and
the
they
ratings
do
board.
most of the lobbying based on like copyright infringement or any legislation that inadvertently affects the industry. So they lobby on behalf of their membership, behalf of Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation. If Jeff's here and I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. But yeah, I mean that's always been my understanding. That's what they do. They do a lot of things. Like they do a lot of important things. Adam in the chat says, "Why would a publisher want their demo behind a paywall? It defeats the purpose." I mean, but why does anybody have a demo that's available on the show floor that's not available digitally? Like it's kind of the same thing. Like if you're charging somebody a ticket, which is what they were doing to come to E3 to experience the demo, that you're doing the same thing. That doesn't really change if it's being streamed. It's the same thing. And even the streaming probably comes at a greater cost than doing it on the show floor. where you actually have some control over the actual boxes or PCs that are running it.
I'm thinking of the small little interviews or whatever that we saw in previous E3s that were invite to the press only.
Yeah.
And then we saw, the public saw it 3 months later or something like that. And the biggest one I think of is Cyberpunk. And I remember press going to the Cyberpunk preview event, them writing about it and then seeing that video 3 months later. If you have those type of level of publishers in there in this $35 exclusive content to make you feel special and exclusive, I think that would be kind of cool.
And that's the key, right? And Jeff brings it up. He says, I think exclusivity could help, but I think the publishers will just throw peanuts at the ESA. The very first thing that I saw was, it's like, what kind of demos? Really, that's what matters, right? Because Steam has their demo like summer thing. Xbox has their summer thing. But to be honest with you, most of that stuff is indies stuff that
it is a lot of indies.
We're not talking about going hands-on with Breath of the Wild 2 or the new Assassin's Creed or like a major game, you know, like we're expecting a lot of big games coming out this fall already, right? Dying Light, any of the Zelda things. There's lots of games. We can cover them all. There's a new Battlefront, Battlefield, all that stuff's coming out. So like if any of those were there, I could see warranting, a ticket for that.
What would be the benefit of the publishers though to put out a demo behind this paywall, as opposed to just putting it out as a free demo on Steam or something like that for more people to get? Why would exclusivity matter for that? I feel like there's not a lot of incentive there for them to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, unless they're already doing, I mean, if they're already paying to present like that I still don't understand. Like I still don't understand if these publishers are going to pay to be part of Digital E3.
The examples, the examples you put out is like companies and publishers that are probably going to do their own stuff, right? Separate from E3. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why. Well, another thing is maybe publishers want a focus group, right? A focus audience that, this 35, whatever paywall it is, it's just adding an extra like pay thing to see an audience that could be really excited.
Remember, a lot of these big publishers are already members.
They are members.
So like maybe they just want to support it, right? Like maybe they just want to, show some goodwill. And maybe like, I don't want to get crazy here. It's not going to be Zelda. Don't get me wrong. Let's just use it as an idea. But maybe it's something smaller, right? Maybe there's like a smaller, but still like first party demos.
Yeah.
Better than like Steam's demo show. Like I'm somebody who downloaded 40 games last year on Xbox and played those demos. I guarantee you nobody knows those demos are. Like there's a difference between, those aren't the demos that are on the E3 show floor. E3 show floor demos are different. Like they're bigger games. So like if they were there, I'd be interested.
I think it could be interesting to see, like, the showcases come out, and a lot of times it happens at E3, right? You have showcase of games, whether it's Sony or Xbox or whatever, and they have the demos on the show floor right there.
Yep.
Why don't you just allocate all those demos into this GeForce Now $35 service? I could totally see Xbox saying, hey, here's all the games that we have, and these 3 or 4 games, you can get the demo right now if you go to the E3 $35 whatever paywall thing.
It's actually been some of my most sought after and probably the biggest thing that I get from watching E3 presentations, stuff on YouTube and stuff, are people playing the demos that are on the show floor, especially for games that I'm interested in, that like I saw, the trailer, but I don't really know about the game. Like what actually is the game? Seeing is believing. See somebody play that means something. So like there are lots of games like that I would have, like even smaller stuff, like Xbox 2 years ago, E3, they had Tunic on the show floor. Like they showed it in the presentation. It looked awesome. Everybody was like, Zelda Fox. I would have killed to play that demo, right? Like I would have loved to have played that demo. $35 for something like that. And like I said, maybe you throw in like Jeff Grubb's interview hour where they have Jeff interview somebody from Square Enix or something. Yeah, like if you did that exclusive for the ticketed folks and like
send everybody a nice little t-shirt and pin.
Yeah.
If you buy it.
Maybe like we got to do like some equivalent of like a super chat because we're ticketed folks or whatever.
Yeah.
Like maybe we could ask questions or something that regular people couldn't. $35 is not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
See,
for that type of stuff.
That's where I am. It's like they're not asking for $350. Like that's crazy, right? $35. I was like, that sounds kind of cool. Look at Jeff. I love him so much. But yeah, I've always been for this. Like I've always wanted that, right? Let's expand E3 to people that can't go there. You know, because you can only fit so many people in that stadium. I see the lines every year that we had E3, and I was like, I don't think I ever want to do that.
And it's just not reasonable for a lot of people to fly out there and stay there. Like, some people just
Well,
can't
even the
do it.
press, if you listen to the podcast, right? Like, I've listened to some of these people from like IGN for years. They talk about they wait in line to play a demo for 5 hours, and they have press badges.
It's not reasonable.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, that sounds awful. Like, doesn't this sound a lot better? It's like, hey, pay us $35. We'll bring the demo to you. It's like, yeah, that sounds sweet. I don't know. I was kind of excited, but like most things, the internet hated it, which means that it will not happen because I was on the quick minority on this one. Like a lot of people were really angry.
I think everyone's very quick to anger when we see something like a paywall or whatever that goes against the norm where it's normally free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people's minds jump to, okay, you can't see the press conferences unless you pay that, which I think would be a little bit outrageous because they're just going to be on YouTube 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
anyway.
That wouldn't make any sense. I don't see how that's possible.
And I think that's where people's minds jump to, and that's why the reaction was the way that it was.
Yeah. So I would be interested in this.
Jeff says, I haven't waited in line since waiting 3 hours for Evolved.
Oh, I'm sure that was a riveting experience.
Wow. Yeah. I thought this was kind of a way of like kind of, inviting everybody kind of, behind the scenes, or at least that kind of VIP access or something.
Give me a t-shirt. Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do it. I'm still interested. I would like to know. Like I said, they didn't say they weren't going to have some sort of paid something. Yeah.
I'm sure they will have some kind of paid tier that some people will want to do because they're into it, and it could be something. Go ahead.
In the year of COVID, we've had so many like entertainers that went like with digital events, like digital concerts or digital comics, shows. When this news came out, I was like, yeah, this totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I was almost more caught off guard by the instant adverse reaction that everybody had to it, because I was like, in the year of COVID, this makes all the sense in the world.
I think, again, what comes to the head is like they're hiding content behind a paywall. That's what I think they're thinking of. But what we're actually offering is something like, it's just premium access. Think of like Disney Plus with premium access with some certain movies. Think of Patreon. Think of Giant Bomb. All of these things. It's not for
the general public. It's for the ones who really want something more.
Exactly.
If you're just kind of in for the ride, you're going to get what you want to get without paying.
Yeah, we're still going to see the commercials, and they're still going to go out on YouTube, and you're going to be able to see the shows, and the Forza car will be somewhere. I'm sure they'll get a picture of a Lamborghini somewhere, and they'll put it in there. Like, that'll happen. So, you'll still have your... I'm just really excited that apparently E3 might actually happen. Like,
it still exists.
I still don't want to believe it. Like, I'm still hesitant to dive in, but I want to believe.
Garrett. I mean, we'll have something, but it's going to be a game mess again. It's a controlled mess.
Summer games mess. Yeah.
Games mess, yeah.
Jeff and lots of people, they all say it's like publishers are still going to do their own thing. Regardless of what this is, like, you still got Jeff Keighley's thing. Everybody's going to do their own event as well. So, like, even if this E3 actually does happen, like, just my expectations are so low because they're probably not going to get a lot of like the announcements that we would typically hold for something like that. Like they'll have their own directs or their own presentations or their own interviews or something to do something like that.
I kind of miss the E3, to be honest with you.
I've said that's
yeah.
That's been my take the whole time.
It's the community feeling. That's what we won't get back.
That too. How everything's like compact,
condensed. Yes,
into 1 week where we can all just be hyped.
Just take a week off.
So much better than last 6 months, last summer or whatever. It took forever, and there was like a show every other day, and you couldn't keep up with who was what. There were legit shows I didn't even know were happening.
Yeah.
I miss E3 too.
I hope Digital Devolver, I hope they put their expo behind a paywall of $1.
They do something really weird like 69 cents.
69 cents.
Come on, Garrett.
69.
Another rumor. Could Life is Strange be headed to Nintendo Switch? Apparently so, as the ESRB has rated the game for the Nintendo Switch console earlier today. Now, this lines up with that that leaker on Reddit that I shared in our Life is Strange, he had all of it, right? He had the girl's name, he had her powers, he had the remaster, and he said they were coming to Switch. I was surprised when it wasn't announced. So today it gets a rating. So the first thing that I want to ask is, if it is coming to Nintendo Switch, and obviously like they've got a rating, that doesn't happen just out of the blue. Mm-hmm. If it is coming to Switch, what are the reasons why it wasn't shown or announced when they did like their whole thing about the game?
The only reason is because Nintendo wants it in their own presentation.
Right.
There's no other reason.
They want to announce with Nintendo. They want to be in a direct.
What other reason would there be?
Well, it's not the same release date.
That's the other one. Maybe it's delayed.
It's going to be delayed till early next year.
Maybe it comes after it. Life is Strange comes to everything, and then it comes to Switch later.
Well, would it be rated at the same time? I guess it would. The rating timing wouldn't matter, would it?
I mean, yeah.
If it's just a short amount of time frame, it would be at the same time, I would think.
Why would it be released later?
Because they're still working on it, or someone else is kind of porting it.
A second party's porting it.
It's enough to be rated right now.
I mean, if it's the same application for all platforms, why not?
Yes, I could.
Yeah.
Well, then I wouldn't wait for the Switch version. Then I gotta play it day one.
The other thing is we had some spirited debate earlier today when I said that I
spirited.
I wouldn't pay.
I love it.
I wouldn't play Life is Strange on Switch just at face value. Like it's like, hey, it's here. It's on the same day as everything else. I'm still gonna get it on Xbox because, as I said in the Discord, I want to play Life is Strange True Colors in like the best way it can possibly look. One of the biggest takeaways that I had when we were watching the Square Enix thing together was like how beautiful that little setting in Colorado, like they had us all nice, warm and vibrant, very detailed. Like, so I'd want to see that as good as possible. That wasn't to say, I want to be clear, that I thought the Switch would run it like garbage, which I felt like it got conveyed to. I think the Switch could probably run a Life is Strange game fine, right? Like it'd be 720, 30 or something. That's a fine, very respectable way to play it. Just not the best way to play it. So I would want to go the best way to play it. Kyle asks, does Life is Strange need 60 FPS to run well on the Switch, Rebecca?
Not going to answer that right at this time. I want to tell you that my first experience with Life is Strange, the first game, was before I had a PC or any gaming capable device that wasn't a console. I played the original Life is Strange on my Surface Pro tablet. It ran like absolute garbage. I had to turn on all the lowest settings. It was probably like a 16 frames per second. I don't know, it probably wasn't that bad, but it wasn't good. It crashed at times. It ran poorly. Yeah. But despite that, it still became my favorite non-Nintendo game of all time. To me, I don't need it. I'm sure that 60 frames per second and stellar performances, all cherry on top. If it's not like that on the Switch, it's not like that on the Switch. It doesn't matter. That's not going to stop me from enjoying True Colors at all. Not in the slightest. I would prefer it to run well. Do I need it to be as glamorous as the PC version? No, I don't. My priorities are very different than Donnie's, and that's okay. I like the fact that I will be able to play it on the TV and then stream it and then move to my bed and play it in handheld a little bit more. And that's okay. What I prioritize, and we're different.
I mean, I'm totally with like trying to play it best, and that's just how I am. And it's a lot for me for these third-party games, whatever games that come out previously that I own or whatever. I think of like Borderlands or BioShock or Dragon's Dogma or even Witcher, and it's like, okay, do I need this on Switch? No, I don't. I never do because I own them somewhere else, and it's not a handheld game. If there's a third-party game that I'm like, that's a handheld game, I want to play it on handheld, like Monster Hunter. It's a very good handheld game, by the way. Then I'll buy it on Switch. The thing is, for any walking simulator game for me, Telltale's Life is Strange, that's not a handheld game for me at all. I don't go to my bed and play that. I put headphones on and a giant TV and make sure I'm fully immersed with that game. And that's why I just pick all of my third-party games on other consoles. It's just because, like, why would I put it on Switch? It's the same game. It's just going to be lesser quality, so might as well have it on the other consoles.
Regardless, I'm still very excited that it could potentially be coming over. This is also,
I think it's very cool. Yes,
one of my favorite franchises. This is the reason why we kind of have our Life is Strange group in our Discord. It's one of the things that kind of brought us all together. And I hate that Nintendo has not had these games for so long.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know, it's weird. Square Enix has so many games on Nintendo Switch. They obviously have got to be selling well. So it's like, it stands out to me as that this game hasn't made it. And I've always wondered if it actually is a performance issue. And the only comparison I can make is Telltale, because they're obviously similar type games. The Telltale games aren't great on Switch. They're okay, but they're not great. They feel like enhanced mobile versions. They stutter, they chop, they skip. You know, like, I've always wondered if that has something to do with why Life is Strange hasn't made it over. Hopefully that's not the case.
It just probably wasn't in the devs' head at the time. It's like, oh, we need to make it on Switch on the previous games too.
I don't think so, because didn't the Wii U was still out when the first game came out?
Yeah.
And it just probably wasn't a priority for them. And
exactly.
That probably carried over, like you said, Garrett.
That makes sense. But if it does come and the remasters come, I can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, if you just have a Switch and you don't have anything else, get Life is Strange. I'm sure it'll play fine, and you'll have an incredible time.
Before the Storm's my favorite in the series, and that's a part of the collection.
I still need to play that one.
And as I also admitted to, ultimately that this could just mean that I end up paying more for this than everybody else, because I'll buy it on Xbox and I'll buy the Switch versions.
So I think that's a lot.
For the remasters, I'm gonna play it in like story order. So instead of playing Life is Strange and then Before the Storm, I think I'm going to do it the other way around for my second playthrough. I'm going to do Before the Storm and then Life is Strange.
When I replayed it with my wife, I let her drive while we played, and we did the same thing. Yeah. So she watched me play them in order, and then when she played, we played them in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
guys, I might play on PS5. You know why?
Why?
Trophies.
Who cares?
You get easy platinums for those games.
Talk about something nobody cares
about. Simulator games, because it's just easy trophies right there. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of games that I've bought on Switch that I'd already beaten or played somewhere else are endless.
Right. It's good to have it in a collection, and
I
will tell you this:
I love a physical copy for that game on Switch.
That's it. When it comes to Switch, I do value my physical copies of Switch games way more than I value physical copies of the other games. So if they did a physical collector's edition for Life is Strange True Colors on Switch, I will have one of those for sure.
Part of me still is telling myself that this ESRB writing Switch was a mistake, because I can't wrap my head around that it would actually happen.
I mean, I guess it very could. I guess it could be a mistake. I would like to think at this point they had figured that out, right? Like by now, that like maybe there isn't like just a checkbox that they check or something.
But we thought that when Life is Strange 2 was coming out, that it would have been so obvious.
Yeah. I've been wanting this
for
a very, very long time. Yeah. Monster Hunter, speaking of Monster Hunter, Garrett, has sold more than 4 million units over the weekend. Sales are on pace with Monster Hunter World, 5 million in the same time frame. Now, I believe I was reading tweets about that. That excludes digital copies, right?
Oh, I don't know about that part.
I think the 4 million excludes digital copies. Sales. So that's why when people are like it's on pace, a lot of people are saying it's got to be right at or maybe even exceeding that, because they're not counting digital copies.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, Monster Hunter World is Capcom's fastest selling game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is on one system on the Switch, and if it's on par, that's freaking huge. And then they said they'll promise to put it on PC next year sometime, so they'll just have more sales after that. I think they have
I'm not surprised at all, by the
golden egg here.
Like none. I have zero surprise.
I'm not surprised, but
I expect it to be big. And when it comes to the 3DS, right? Monster Hunter is a portable game. And I know that the World was great and it sold a lot of copies, but like the franchise, its legacy, its history is a portable game. So I 100% expected it to sell extremely well on Switch.
What's really great is that this game, and I didn't say this earlier, it's a technical masterpiece. It is so good to what it does with the Switch hardware. I have no complaints. I mean, like, of course, it can have better frames and better graphics, whatever. But the way it is now is the smoothest, most steady 30 frames I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's very pretty. It's very
It's
vibrant.
a very pretty environment. And I see one technical aspect of it. I thought it was kind of funny. When I see monsters off in the distance, the frames are like 10. You could see literally the clicks of the wings in the back. And I'm like, so that's how they're sacrificing it. It's just like the rendering of the frames.
Draw distance.
The draw distance for sure. And it's like, it's obvious, but it's like, well, we see that in Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well. And it works. They did a fantastic job with this game and on handheld too. It looks, I can easily just play this forever on handheld. So
nice.
Love this game.
Telluride
Yeah.
series has shipped to 1 million copies. Koei Tecmo celebrates with
999,000 of them are Donnie's.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. Free DLC costumes.
You want to see
part
them,
of these
Donnie?
Celebrations. They're currently
There's a link
20% off.
There's a link there.
There's
see
a
the
link there.
costumes.
I'm good. Let's see here. Let's
That's a really
click
cute
in.
dress, actually. I really like that.
It's cute white and black dress. There you go,
I
Donnie.
would wear the black one. That's adorable.
There you go.
So there you go, folks. If you everybody throw the bits at Rebecca if you want the Telluride Twitch stream.
Wait, you're gonna wear one too?
Don't do that. don't tell them that. It's a skimpy dress.
Obi-Wan K says, Donnie is so excited for this.
Yeah.
That's
How could you not be?
hype. Eat the
It's
hype.
on sale right now, Donnie. It's there for the taking. It's actually pretty good for them, by the way. This is pretty big sales.
How many games did it? How many games? And I know they said the series reaches 1 million, but how many games is that?
No, this is the Telluride. So that's
That's
2 games.
Two
right?
games. Okay,
Because that's the Telluride, the first one,
that is pretty good.
and the second one. So
Good for them.
yeah, they're bringing all the Atelier games.
It can be
forward.
hard. I always try to bring that to the conversation when we talk sales. It can be hard to bring like some context. I always tell folks, man, if a game sells 1 million copies, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
You know, because it's hard. We'll lose that when we talk about Animal Crossing and Cart and Breath of the Wild and stuff. And like 12 million, 15, 30 million copies. It make you think that every game sells like 3 million copies. That is not the case.
No.
Most games do not sell 1 million copies. So yeah, 1 million is a big deal, even for 2
Especially
games.
for a niche subject like this. It's pretty good.
Big deal. Good for them. Rebecca, would you hit us with some questions?
all right. A good one. Edgardo wants to know, do you think it's possible Nintendo may re-release Super Mario Bros. 35 in the future? It's a little bit weird because they said that it was going to be delisted at the end of yesterday, the 31st. I saw people still playing it today.
Oh, wow.
A few hours ago, I was able to get into matches. For some people, it says it's offline. They can no longer get in. For other people, they're still able to get in and play matches. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah. Is it like a rolling?
A soft shutdown.
Yeah.
Soft shutdown.
guillotine
I'm
is
sure.
slowly
Yeah,
going
I'm
down.
sure it'll go down for everybody eventually. If it hasn't for you already. What do you think? Do you think they'll bring it back in some capacity?
I want to say no, but I can't. Nintendo typically always will pull something out of history at some point to make people happy. They have a long history of doing that. So to ever be like, they're going to take it away and never play it again, like that's just hard to say because the odds against that are strong.
It's kind of wasted
Someday.
effort.
Someday.
Right.
What
Now,
about
it might be
the near
25
future?
years from now.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's what, and Edgardo, you can correct us. I think he was talking about like sometime within the
Like this year?
this foreseeable future.
No, I don't. I think it's gone.
I wonder what's going to replace it, if anything's going to replace it.
Nothing.
And I wonder if they'll... Yeah, that's the answer. And I wonder if they'll rotate that and then they'll compile that all together.
That's a good thought. I saw Emily Rogers talking a lot on Twitter the past couple of days, talking about how it really devalues Nintendo Switch Online, that they should be adding more of these types of games. And I feel like that's what we've been saying. They should be adding more value to Switch Online rather than taking it away. They should be having more of these Tetris 99 games and these Mario Bros. 35 instead of limiting it.
Yeah.
Because just like that, that's one less reason now to subscribe to Switch Online. I like, Garrett, your idea of maybe they do another timed game for Zelda's 35th, and then they do
Four
like
swords,
maybe they do whatever they do, and then maybe at the end of all these 35th anniversary celebrations, I don't know, they wouldn't put it on a cart or anything.
I mean, they'll just put it all together, and you'll just select one of them, and you're good to go. I think what they're doing is probably building up these classic online games that they're thinking of and their ideas. And this is just my speculation. They'll replace them every so now and then, shut them down, and then probably in the end, put them all in a collection.
See, that's what I thought when they first came out with the Mario 35. I was like, they're tinkering with an idea. I would expect them to come back with a fully fledged standalone game, not for Nintendo Switch
that would
Online.
be cool.
Yeah, I don't even think they care about Nintendo Switch Online. I'd be very interested to know, like, if people would actually cancel, like if there's nothing else that happens for Nintendo Switch Online for the rest of the year, is anybody going to cancel it? Nobody's going to cancel Nintendo Switch Online before Splatoon 3 is about to release. It's only $20 a year. You know?
I don't think people will cancel because of Super Mario Bros. 35.
No,
closing down.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. I do want them to have. I want all the Virtual Console and all the games in there, and I want indie rotations and stuff. Like I want it to be better than it is, but it's not. It doesn't seem like they want it to be.
I don't think people would cancel it because they're getting rid of Mario 35, but I think there are a decent amount of people who aren't subscribed because maybe for whatever reason they just don't care about your Splatoon or your whatever you're playing on Switch Online these days, that maybe they could be getting those people on board with more valuable games like that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Like I love
they're
services.
Not losing, but they're also not
services.
Gaining the way that they could be.
If they want to copy Game Pass, I'm signing up for that day one. I've talked about the Nindies Pass idea for years. Like I love services. I'm all for it. I just don't think they're going to do it at all. My hope and enthusiasm for Nintendo to do anything with Nintendo Switch Online is like an all-time low. It's just rock bottom at this point. It's like,
it's the longest tease.
Yeah. I mean, it's 4 or 5 years now. And we're still talking about like, no Mario RPG. Yeah. Like they have no Super Nintendo games. Like they've got no 64 stuff. There's no Game Boy or Game Boy Advance. It's like, no, like you just got to let that go. If anything, I would think, again, if they were going to make Mario 35 something, then I would see them doing like Mario 35, Mario Maker something or another, like a whole separate release that's bigger, it's more fleshed out, it's grander. Because the first time I saw it, I thought it was kind of like experimental. I was like, maybe they've got an idea that they're messing with.
I still think that what my original thought was that they weren't very confident that they could have the long-term enough people playing it, because you do need 35 people to get it to work, right?
Yeah.
And I thought maybe they would say, okay, well, there's still people playing it in March, we'll extend it. And they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They got that data, though.
Hope you played it. Go check to see if yours still works. It might still work.
Yeah. I played more... And this is 100%. I played more Donkey Kong in the last month than I did Super Mario 35 anyway. And that game is like forever old.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I think the Nintendo Switch Online is worth every penny it's currently being charged at. Now, if they ever wanted to raise the price, then yeah, they got to do something. But as it currently stands, $20. Yeah.
Negotiator wants to know, with the recent success of Monster Hunter Rise, how likely are we to see other third-party devs develop games more tailored to the Switch's hardware, rather than just making ports which vary in performance and visual quality, some better than others?
That's
a great question.
This has been a thing since the Wii, when a lot of folks really did start to make ports specifically for the Wii. Mm-hmm. But I think more so like 3DS and Wii U, this has been the thing for a long time.
Yeah.
At least the last decade. This is what everybody's been wanting. It's like, why don't you just make stuff? And the answer is cost. Just cost too much.
Yeah, it is.
Costs too much to make a game developed for one console. You're just limiting so much of your potential. You think about it, if you're a third-party developer, you're going to make a game. It could be any game in the world. You're going to make a game. Wouldn't you want to sell it to hundreds of millions of potential customers, or subject yourself to just 80 million? And then of those 80 million, if your game doesn't include a Nintendo property, how much further does that cut into that?
Yeah.
Half? more than half. Like we've talked about in the past, like Monster Hunter notwithstanding, you know, a lot of these third-party games don't chart. You know, like they're not top sellers. When we see back all of the top-selling games, you know, on Switch and stuff, like you don't see it full of the bigger third-party releases, where you see a lot of either indie games or highly promoted games or Ring Fit Nintendo games really kind of make up the majority of the games that are doing business on Nintendo's hardware.
And for third-party developers, we still get kind of frustrated, well, at least right now, that they're still releasing on PS4 and Xbox One, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're limiting themselves with the hardware. It's like, if you're going to focus on Switch first, you're really limiting yourself on hardware.
Or causing yourself a bigger expense, because a lot of these folks are paying Panic Button to do it. That doesn't come cheaply either. You're literally paying another studio to port your game.
Yeah.
You know, that's another part of it as well. So
I think Monster Hunter Rise is for sure it's a unique case for a third-party developer, only because, as Donnie said, Monster Hunter is a portable game. They have an audience there. They have 3DS.
Yep. They have legacy with Nintendo.
They have a legacy there. And it was actually kind of weird to see Monster Hunter World being not to like any Nintendo platform.
Yep.
But seeing this, and I love how much effort they put into it and making sure it does run really great on Switch. And I also think of like devs as like Supergiant with Hades. They were pretty smart when they did it for the PC. It's like, okay, now we've done our early access development in PC. We can spec specifically for Switch.
Yep.
And go from there. And I think a lot of third-party developers need to think in their head is, based on their project, does it make sense cost-wise and effort-wise that will run pretty great on Switch, and does it make sense for the Switch? And people will draw to that, I think.
Well, that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Does the game make sense on Switch? We talk about it all the time. Does the game make sense for Switch? You know, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla doesn't make sense to target Switch.
And like games like Black Flag sometimes doesn't like make sense for Switch. Maybe older games do make sense. I just think for third-party developers, they just got to make sure to worry about what their platform of choice is first. And if it's not Switch, that's okay.
What do you think, Rebecca?
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have a real opinion on it. I was reading another one of our questions and was just letting my mind go wild with it.
Well, the reason I actually asked you is because I think you represent a really good like target demographic. Because I think for the most part, you probably don't care, right?
Yeah.
It's not because you like
something I think about,
because these aren't types of games you're playing, and I think you represent a large of Nintendo's base consumer. That's a reason why, you know, like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and BioShock and all these games, that's why they don't chart extremely well on Nintendo's platforms.
If it's the kind of game that I want to play, like if it's, because especially when they come to Switch late kind of thing, if you wanted to play this, you already played it somewhere else.
True. Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I'm not in that demographic, I guess.
So I think that's the hardest thing with like the bigger publishers, right? Like smaller publishers, like if like Hades is a great example, or you know Hollow Knight. Yeah, like those games make a lot of sense. Target for Switch, go Switch first, and then let that build you as you port to other systems. But those are specific game, like almost, and I hate using the term because it has like a lesser connotation, but indie-ish titles. You know, like indie-ish titles make a lot of sense to target for Switch.
Smaller budget.
And Ubisoft used to do that with the UbiArt games. And I, for one, would love to see them come back. Bring them back.
I love UbiArt games. And they just flunked it.
They just killed the program. They're like, you know why? Because they think bigger than that. Like when you're talking about Ubisoft and EA and 2K, their heads are in the clouds. They don't want to make, you know, $1 million. They want to make $2 billion. They want to make more than that.
I give EA more credit because of their EA original games versus Ubisoft. They don't do any smaller games anymore. They just make a 120-hour campaign Assassin's Creed game now, and
And I
don't know.
feel like especially now with more like expansion passes and microtransactions and stuff, like they focus more on that than
Yeah.
than putting out new content. You know, we've been on GTA 5 for the past 10 years. I don't know.
About to get another patch for that bad boy.
Oh my gosh, please. It's just a monster.
Yeah. And I do think, like it only seems to work when Nintendo gets involved. They fund the project, they lend out an IP, they work with Ubisoft to make Mario Rabbids. Like when they do that, then it seems to work. But like without some sort of involvement or something like that, it's hard unless Nintendo's like buying exclusivity, right? Unless we're paying you to make a game targeted for our console. Just so often seems like it doesn't work. And I think that's okay.
It's a different audience.
I've said it for a long time. Nintendo can stand on their own.
Oh,
I think
for
third-party support's important, but I would argue that like they have all the third-party support they need with games like Fortnite. Like that game is bigger than so many these other games. It's like they can live without Star Wars and Madden and stuff. Like it's not important because the people that want those games have other things to play them on. Right? So yeah.
Where are we? Oh, Brendan wants to know with how well Monster Hunter Rise works on the Switch, with the RE engine, do you think we will get more Capcom games? Wait, is that Resident Evil? That's the same engine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the RE engine.
Dang, I
RE
read that. I didn't even read that.
Devil May Cry's engine as well.
Could we see Nintendo using the engine, or even game developers?
Capcom support, I think, yes.
Yes.
Other developers, no.
Probably not, no.
Because that's their internal engine.
Yeah.
They're not
They wouldn't have
that.
access to use that.
Yeah. I would be hopeful, but just know the difference. Like before anybody starts looking at Capcom's HIST looking for games to be ported over, remember that they tweaked the visual settings for Monster Hunter to work with the engine to work on Switch. So that's important, right? I don't think you're not going to see like Devil May Cry 5 suddenly, pop over to Switch and keep all of its RE engine glory. Like that's not going to work. But because they put the work in to make RE engine work for Switch, do I think Capcom will use that for future releases? Absolutely.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, they've got to have historical games or something that they can bring over. I've been looking for the Resident Evil ports for a while. Maybe like with Switch Pro, like that's something I've been thinking for a while. Maybe we might see
Resident Evil, like 2?
Yeah, like remake.
The remakes?
Like
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like if they could get a little boost or something like that, like maybe they could take something like that and make it work.
They said from the beginning when they started this project, it is for the Switch, and so everything made with the RE engine for Monster Hunter Rise is specific to Switch. It's gonna be interesting to see if other like big titles that are already out on other like platforms is like, okay, now we're scaling it back and porting it to Switch. I don't know if this is gonna be a transfer of knowledge here. Because one's from the ground up. This is going to be from the top down now.
Yeah.
So,
we'll
see.
Kyle says Capcom's also Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Should be getting a new Street Fighter soon.
What Street Fighter do we have on Switch? We don't have Street Fighter 5,
We've got the collection of the old ones.
The Turbo Championship stuff. Okay. Cool. I don't do Street Fighter, so...
Rob wants to know, why is it when Nintendo's consoles have shortages, everyone accuses them of creating demand, but nobody seems to care that PlayStation hasn't made enough PS5s? I think I see people complaining that.
Yeah, as I say, I don't.
Hasn't made
people
enough
definitely care. Now, are they accusing them of creating demand? No.
No.
There's a difference, but do they care? Yeah, greatly. They care a lot, actually.
I think they get the old pass of pandemic, tech shortage.
That's a very good point.
I think they get that pass. Whether that's the reason or not, I think that's the pass that they get.
Well, it isn't like the rate of selling PS5s right now is on par with PS4. Like it's just as fast, even though that
they're very close.
The supply is constrained.
Yeah.
So
it's just the demand is at an all-time high.
Right. I don't know if we say that Nintendo's creating demand, but didn't they also say themselves that they do that on purpose? Like it's not us accusing them; they admitted it.
Well, I don't even think they have to say it. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
proven as that they're taking away Mario games. They put a time limit on when you can buy Mario 3D World. Like,
We're not accusing them.
they're
They are
very
doing it.
clear about creating demand or creating an urgency of purchase. But I think it's different when I do think it's interesting. My lifetime as a Nintendo fan, like you grow up with this assumption, especially you start getting into internet. I don't know what to call it, culture, like awareness.
Yeah. No,
There's
I
been
know
the
what you
thing that's like, well, Nintendo artificially creates demand, and it's I don't think that's true. Like when it comes to hardware, which is where it's typically used. Do they try to create demand? Yeah, but
That's the point.
but that's the point. Like everybody tries to create demand. When it comes to the hardware, like are they actively making less consoles to make more people encouraged to pay more for it? No, I don't think that's the point at all. I think that what that's coming from is I think Nintendo's probably more conservative at launch with hardware than the other companies are because they don't subsidize it with services. They don't eat they don't take a loss on hardware sold. So they're not going to make
true.
they're not going to make 5 million of them at a loss. Like they're going to
Yeah.
kind of make them and sell them as people buy them.
Especially coming off of the Wii U.
Absolutely. So I think it's very easy for people to throw that at them. I think it comes from the Wii is the first time that I really started hearing
Oh,
that.
it was
Yeah,
the Wii.
that was genuinely very hard to
That
get
was
for
Exactly.
a long time.
But
And
I don't think it
that
was because Nintendo didn't
artificial.
want to make them.
Yeah.
I think it was because demand was through the roof. They were
Yeah.
making them as fast as they could.
Uh-huh.
Right. And we just come up with crazy excuses
Why,
to why.
why wouldn't they? Because the more consoles they sell, if the demand is genuinely there, they want to make as many as possible
Exactly.
so that they can sell them.
They clearly don't want you to pay twice as much to a scalper to buy the product
Right.
that they already sold at
Yeah.
the regular price. Nobody wants to do that. Like that would kill their business. They clearly want you to buy from them at their price, but it comes at a cost. Manufacturing, think about how much it costs. You're like, oh my God, PS5 costs $500. Like think of how much it costs PlayStation to make 5 million.
They don't want dozens of them sitting on the shelves for weeks and
Yeah.
weeks.
They want them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a weird mix and balance that I think
It
is
is.
they carefully weigh it, obviously.
It is kind of a part of Nintendo's image. Like that's been something that's stuck with Nintendo. As a Nintendo fan, I've heard that from non-Nintendo fans for 15 years.
I think another infamous one was the NES and SNES Classic.
Yeah.
Where if you weren't jumping on the boat initially, it's gonna be very hard down the road. And I think they they realized like, wow, there's a lot more demand to these things than we thought, and they made more actually down the road.
And it's rare for them to kind of do that little restock thing. That's not
Something
And,
that I go ahead, Garrett.
No, another thing is Amiibo. That's
Amiibo.
another
Oh, yeah.
great example of people thinking there was an artificial demand, which I'm not too sure on certain ones, on certain figures.
dude, those Zelda amiibo that have had reprints and
hard
restocks,
to
they're
get.
still $40 a piece.
But those are I feel like that's a little bit different because that's a kind of seen as a collector's item type thing. So that's a little bit different than the console itself. But what I was gonna say is I think it's pretty interesting, and I don't know if this is like for the same reason that we're talking about. But 4 years later, when I go into like Best Buy or GameStop or whatever, whenever I look at like the consoles, I see one, maybe two Switch consoles like there to buy. I don't know if that's like purposeful, like that they only get so many shipments, if they have more like in the back or whatever. But it's not like the other consoles where you can see that there's like 6, 7, 8, not PlayStation 5s, but usually there's like one, maybe two at most Switch consoles there. And I don't know if that's meant to look like, oh, you better get the last one or what.
I don't know. Maybe. I think it'd be really hard to pull that off on a global scale.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
down-
don't know. Are they
down
given
to a store level?
Are they given specific instructions to Best Buy, like only set out one or two like at a time, like that kind of thing? Like I wouldn't be surprised if they gave stores specific instructions to do that. They have Nintendo ambassadors who like go around and check stores to make sure that the products are displayed correctly. Like that's
That's
somebody's job. So I don't know if that's something that they might tell stores. You might have 20 consoles shipped to you this week, but only put out one at a time to make it look like somebody has to buy the last one kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I know
No, that could totally be it.
last year before the pandemic. So like maybe like right at the Redbox release and forward before the pandemic hit. I remember countless times I'd walk into GameStop and they'd have 8-10 Switches all stacked up right on the
Would
shelf
they?
behind them. Yeah.
Maybe that's
They
just a
were
product
there.
of where I live then. I don't know.
But then COVID happened and like they're all gone.
Yeah.
And like they are still hard. They're still fighting demand to keep just stock of Switches available for people that walk in and buy them.
That could just be the case then. Maybe there really are only one or two there every time I'm there. I'm just curious.
They're
Maybe there's
selling out.
somebody who works retail, like a Best Buy or GameStop or something, that can weigh
One
in
of the
on
things
how many do you actually have.
One of the things we didn't talk about, the Monster Hunter sales numbers. I did see console sales jumped up like 200% in Japan.
It's a console seller.
Wow, yeah.
So for
in
Monster
Japan.
Hunter.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they sold like
Japan's
60,000
number one
last
with
week,
Monster
and
Hunter,
like
yeah.
last week it was like
Don't forget this-
280,000.
The special edition probably moved a lot of units.
Yeah,
That too.
yep. Such
I
a
wanted that.
great. I mean, they marketed it, they pushed it. Remember, I kept referring to it like it's all going to be Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and then they made sure that there's like nothing else near it.
Yeah.
Like, they've really moved
They're
everything
like,
out of the way.
Okay,
It's like,
guys, Monster Hunter's
Hunter.
coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. And even now, like we're still kind of on the shelf until the end of the month for Snap. So it's got plenty of runway.
It's good time because Monster Hunter is gonna be one of those games where people are gonna be playing it for the rest of the year. Like
Yeah.
me.
Definitely.
It's hundreds of hours, guys. It's gonna be a long game.
Let's see. West 3DP says, how long before we get Zelda news?
Hey, they put out a trailer this morning talking about motion controls again. So you don't have to wait at
Oh.
all.
Great. Wait, motion controls for Skyward
You
Sword.
know what he's asking.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
June or July.
Wait, that goes against what we talked about before. I thought we were saying that they weren't going to say anything until after Skyward Sword comes out for Zelda's anniversary.
Yeah. Forgot about that. It might be after.
She
It might be
remembers
after.
things, Donnie.
It might be after then.
I
That
remember
makes
my
sense.
Zelda stuff.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I would not really expect a big Zelda thing until after that, if at all.
Whatever that time frame, wherever it is they want to put their summer update. I don't even call it their E3 update anymore because I don't know if it's going to be an E3. But whenever they want to put their summer update, that'll be the next time.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people today that were like, "So when's the Zelda Direct?" I'm like, "No,
People are gonna beg for it, and
announce it
we're
today.
gonna get till August, September before we hear anything. So that's what we're gonna hear that for months. Just get used to it.
Oh no,
That's gonna be the conversation that you hear.
Zelda win, guys."
Do you think there will be? Drew wants to know. Do you think there will be a Zelda themed Switch if there's more Zelda games later this year? Yes.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, they'll do a Zelda themed Switch for Breath of the Wild 2. Is it later this year? I don't think so, but
I don't think
if
so
it is,
either.
will there be one? Yeah, there will be. There will be a Zelda themed Switch.
Zachary says, what is one item, character, or game mechanic that was present in a past Zelda game that you would like to see return in a future Zelda game? He says, I'd like to see magic make a return or musical instruments.
Oh, Magic's a good call.
Yeah, I kind
I
of
like
miss
Think
Magic.
it.
about that.
hmm
Like the rods,
The rods,
fire
the
rod.
medallions, and
the
I like
medallions.
that.
Yeah, that was dope.
Even Ocarina of Time had the, like, what were they
How
called?
about the ocarina?
The-
The-
yeah. Well, yeah, he says musical
Oh, the-
instruments.
Yeah,
them
musical
things.
instruments.
Din's
would be
Fire
great.
and Neighbor's Love and all those.
I don't-
Oh
magic-
I didn't
man,
care for this.
I forgot all about it until you just said that. Yeah, man,
Fur's Wind.
Goku Link, just
Oh my God.
fireball, like he was awesome.
I remember using that. I'm like, what's the point of this? I didn't like it.
What?
I didn't like the magic in Ocarina of Time.
Mm.
I
Oh,
thought-
dude, you could light torches with Din's Fire. You just stand next to him and be
I
like,
know.
Wait, did you ever use Neighbor's Love in a dungeon?
No, I don't,
No.
I don't know.
You would use it like if you were halfway through a dungeon
Yeah.
and you had to stop playing. You could. It's like kind of save your place there, where you were, so you don't have to go all the way back through the dungeon.
completely unrelated, but I've been playing a lot of Mario Golf with my wife. We've been playing Mario Golf. So Jack was playing 64 with me. I told this story offline to Elaine last night. It dawned on him, or it dawned on me, that he had never seen, like, he's seen my 64 before. We've played it before, but like, he's never been the one messing with it, right?
Mhm.
He's always just been like, here's your controller, play. So we were playing the other day, and I was like, let me show you Diddy Kong's Racing. And because he was like, you know, you think this is good? I was like, good. Diddy Kong Racing is amazing. Let me show you Diddy Kong Racing.
dope.
So I tell him, I'm like, hey, get the game and swap the game.
Uh-oh.
And it dawned on me that he grabs the games, he looks at them, and like you can see the gears in his head start to churn. He's like,
He's trying to figure it out.
wait a second. And he looks at me, he's like, so every time you wanted to change the game, you had to take this out and put a new game in?
Wait, but he has to do that with discs anyway.
But it's a disc thing.
I don't
right?
How?
I don't know. I was dumbfounded because I was in the same where you are, Rebecca. I'm like, obviously this is not new to him, but like for the first time it just hit him. Like he's reached a new plane of awareness where he actually realized that. And he was just like, this is annoying. I think what it was turning the system off. I think that's like the difference, the click, is he turned the system
There's
off.
no like main menu.
There's no
where,
OS or anything. Yeah, like and the whole thing shuts down. But it blew my mind.
Oh man, and then if you didn't have the cartridge in perfectly all the way, it would come up with like the glitchy error screen.
It made me feel old, like real old. I was like, Jesus.
I think it's a matter of the cartridges being so chunky at the time, and you have to physically like put it in. Like it's a physical movement.
You see characters like,
you just gotta put it in, man.
what are you doing?
And then even before the N64 doesn't have it, right? But the Super Nintendo has like the eject button where
The eject button,
yeah.
You can just rip that thing out with a safety ejector.
It was a moment, man. It was a moment. I was sitting there, and I even was like yelling. I was like, "We've done this before."
I was gonna say, I'm surprised that he hasn't. He's done, yeah.
We've played the 64 before multiple times. We even streamed it one time. We were playing it, but for whatever reason, that was the time it clicked for him, and he was just like,
That's funny.
To watch it in person, to watch him stand there with both of them, and he's just like, and to see it. Oh man, it was something else. It was something else.
Cute.
It was funny.
Magic's a good answer.
The hook shot.
Just general items like the hook shot, hover boots. I like the hover boots. I mean, I don't want to say specific items. He says it like a mechanic.
I do think it would have been cool if Breath of the Wild had like more stylized like shields. Like if we had the mirror shield and things like that.
Ooh,
That
there were a lot
cool.
of those in Skyward Sword. Remember, you get a lot of shield upgrades and stuff in Skyward Sword.
Yeah, it would have been cool if we got more of that type of stuff in Breath of the Wild. Like they had a couple, but like they wouldn't even have to do things like if they just looked like that, because it was just kind of cool to have to like change your look. I remember when I was first time I played Ocarina when I was little, man, I would always like swap out my tunics and stuff to like match my gear and all that. Like I was doing all the time.
Yeah, the Goron tunics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also says character. Can you think of a character that you would want return? I know a lot of people want Midna.
That's a good one.
I
don't have a better one. I was gonna say like some snarky answer, but that's a good one.
What's the little guy in Minish Cap? The little gnome dude.
Which little?
Is it Minish Cap? I don't know. I guess.
The companion?
I'm thinking of the little gnome guy. Chad, do you think what I'm...
Little gnome guy.
Minish Cap?
Oh,
I mean,
was it Majora's Mask?
Little gnome guy.
Okay, never mind then.
I mean, a lot of the characters
I
are
kinda
little Minish
freaking
and the
confused
Minish
you.
Cap. The companion.
Oh, there we go.
the hat,
Gerald Nate has it in an emoji.
Tingle. What?
Yeah, Tinkle. Yeah, that's what
Tingle? You called him a gnome guy?
He looked like a gnome guy to me. It was interesting.
Wait, didn't you play Majora's Mask? He's in Majora's Mask.
Only partially.
Ah!
I need to get through it. I love that emo, by the way. It's just him and his little butt.
Okay.
Wait, you gotta play Wind Waker.
Yes.
I gotta play a lot of games. All right.
To be fair, he's also in the Minish Cap, so Garrett's not wrong.
Okay.
When I look at it now, I get it. Like for somebody who has no idea, I get
Not
it.
where I was
But I
thinking.
guarantee you, my entire life of playing mini games that feature Tingle, I never once looked at Tingle and was like, gnome. That makes sense.
I'm like very impressed that Jarrell got that so fast.
Yeah, he hit with a question mark too. That's good.
Wow. My answer for characters would be, I would love the return of the sages.
Oh, just like even
okay.
the concept, even if they had new sages, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if there were new ones, it would be cool if there had old ones. It'd be a cool tie-in. But yeah, even new ones. I like the idea of the sages, and it added a lot of lore.
A Link
to, like,
Between
the
Worlds does
world.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was good.
So, yeah.
Vaddie as an enemy would be my possibility answer. Anyone? No?
I'm good.
Okay.
I don't know characters. I'm sorry. I called Tingle
I'm
a
trying
freaking
to
gnome,
think of
okay?
different villains.
Carrot Slick gnome guy.
Gnome guy,
Trying to
all
think
right?
of different villains besides just Ganon. Like, that is an interesting one. I will always want Skull Kid back, but that storyline's gone.
Yeah, Skull Kid.
Well, who was the guy in Link Between Worlds?
Ravio.
Yeah.
Ravio. He was dope.
Oh, give me Hilda. Yeah, give me Ravio and Hilda again.
Yeah.
Their story is so good.
Give me Dark World and Breath of the Wild too. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Do you want to walk on the walls again too?
Yeah.
I like the
I wanna be in the paintings,
cool.
you know?
Yeah, it was cool.
I do like the concept of in both of those games where it is the dark, where it's like the same world, but it's slightly
kind
different
of
because it's either
different.
dark
I
or
love it so much.
Remixed.
in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that idea a lot.
Oh, it'd be really cool if you could do like the wall thing. Like you could jump into the painting and then like you had to like Mario Odyssey, you had to like do like a little platforming thing or something and then come back out on the other side somewhere else. That'd be cool.
I just want to see a general return of the Minish. I know that was a concept for Breath of the Wild that they scrapped. I love the Minish. I obviously love Fikori. I am the Forest Minish. That's why that's my name. So just having that that race return would be a really big thing for me.
I think all these are great ideas.
Yeah. Do it, Nintendo.
Just bring everything over.
All of
Bring it all
the
back.
Zelda stuff. Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Legend of Zelda Ultimate Edition. Do we got time?
Let's do one more.
Okay. Drew says, whenever Breath of the Wild 2 arrives, what changes or improvements are you hoping to see from the first game?
Ooh,
Dungeons.
that's a bigger question than I was expecting. To do the one more.
Well, okay. Well, the one after that is the one that I read and was like lost in thought thinking
Oh
about.
yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm not even looking at it.
I think with the changes and improvements, I just want to see like the durability of weapons. I'm not sure if I like them too much. I want more variability, like variety of those. I just think of item management in general with Breath of the Wild 1. It was a little bit of a slog to me. So
Really?
I would like that improved. Yeah,
A lot
it
of
just
people don't like it.
I know
it was-
a lot of people did. I always push back on them.
it was just unorganized to me. And I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go all the way over here to get the big sword of
I
whatever.
didn't hate them for being different. I thought the Master Sword fixed it for a lot of a
Yeah.
lot of the complaints. Like once you get the Master Sword, it doesn't matter. But to me, I think it enhanced like having more item slots than having less, and it always kind of made me like one of like kind of like let's get more weapons, more shields, so I can carry more stuff. And then I always had so much stuff, and there's always so much stuff around all the time. There was never a point in time when I was playing Breath of the Wild where I didn't have a weapon, like outside of like the first 5 minutes. And I feel like when most people talk about that, that's what they say. And it's not only did I not have a weapon, I had 12 of my favorite weapon.
Yeah.
So like I never didn't have the one that I wanted either.
It just seems inefficient at that point, though. Like you have 12 of one thing. Why don't you try to like refill one of them in some respect? Or it just seems like a lot of baggage inside the item management that doesn't necessarily need to be there. They can improve and change that a little bit, I think.
I agree with you. It doesn't need to be there. I think they wanted to be there because they wanted to be different. I think that's I think it's the only reason that it even is that way.
I mean, I think it's a good
different.
Yeah, it's a good start. I just
And
wanna
it
see
also,
improve now.
I think the gameplay mechanic that it provides is it forces players to try new things, to try new
that's true.
styles. Whereas if you just let somebody pick up a weapon and keep it forever, they'll never try a trident or the boomerang or anything else. Like so, I like that about it. And I feel like that always goes unmentioned. Is that the reason that they break is so that you pick up something else and keep playing, and they want to kind of force that on you. Otherwise, you're going to miss all of it. You may never know that like that certain weapons are even out there because you don't even look at it.
A good way to, I guess, remedy that would be if they made it so that weapons didn't break and you only get one weapon of each type. Maybe you find them throughout the game and you keep that forever. But then maybe there's certain enemies that can only be defeated with like a spear, or can only be defeated with a boomerang, or can only
That would
be
be
defeated
interesting.
with a trident.
Weaknesses and
You
strengths.
found
Yeah.
your trident, okay, and now you can defeat any enemy that swims or whatever. Whatever kind of enemy that is. And it won't break, but maybe you can't defeat that kind of enemy until you've found
That is
your
an
trident.
interesting take.
Now you're sounding like Witcher. That sounds
Is that like The Witcher?
Yeah, it's
I haven't
different
played that.
weapons, goes in against different monsters.
And it would
for sure.
would probably be quite frustrating if you get to that kind of enemy and don't have the
That's the
weapon.
scary
But
part of that.
maybe that would encourage you to like go explore a different area.
Wolfenstein
do
Youngblood,
that.
apparently before they fixed it, they had certain ammo types that you could only fire at enemies if they had that certain ammo types. And I gotta tell you, that sucked. That was so much worse. I hated that.
And maybe you could just run past them if you don't have the enemy and get through the area, or maybe you just come back later when you do have the enemy or the item for it.
I know it bothered
I'm
a
not
lot
saying
of
I
people.
love that idea, but
It bothered a lot of people, just like the episodic thing with Life is Strange. This is something that never bothered me. Like I never had an issue with it. So, but let's see here. What do we
dungeons
wanna-
would be my answer.
Dungeons?
Like traditional dungeons, like thematic.
I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I mean, dungeons are good, right? I think that's an easy one.
Would you still like the shrines
Yes.
with it? Okay, so
Yeah.
everything
Shrines
that
are
you're
fine.
saying is going to be additive.
I do not want to get rid of the shrines at all. Like that would be a
Okay.
big
Yeah.
mistake for me. Those are my favorite things about
I don't need
Breath of the Wild.
120 of them.
more.
You need 250
200.
of it.
Yeah, more.
Yeah.
Give me all the
It
shrines.
just is so disheartening to like come across. Okay, it's another minor test of strength. It's another major test of strength. Like I didn't need all those.
I
Give me
just
a
like-
couple.
I like clearing off the map. It's like stuff to do.
It's fine. It's fine.
I would like to do more. So, like in the game, you can buy a house. I would love to do more of that. I would love to do more like world building. Like, let me, do more decorating or customizing my house or like building out my own plot or my own Terry town or something like that. That was one of the things that I really thought would be really cool in Breath of the Wild. Like, man, if I could have had more impact on the world instead of just like, you bought the house and like you've planted some flowers. Like, let me kind of make it my own and not just like everybody else's. And then going underwater.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be
Underwater caves, things like that.
I want a water
that we
dungeon and
missed.
stuff like that. Yeah. Like, because
Yes.
those are my favorite things. When I talk about like the wonderment that I felt as a wee lad playing Ocarina, a big part of it was like, dude, I jumped into a lake and I found this bottle at the bottom of the lake and it told me to go to this other place. Like, I remember I found that heart-shaped lake pretty early on, and I was like, oh, there's definitely something in there. It wasn't. And that's like, as a long
Imagine
time.
sinking down to the bottom with your iron boots, going down, down,
Yes.
down, down, and there's
Yeah.
a treasure chest there.
As a long time Zelda fan, like it hurts. Like when you like see a body of water and you're like, there's nothing
I miss
there.
heart containers. I know what they did with the shrines, and you got the spirit orbs to exchange for the heart pieces, and I know that's kind of the equivalent, but it's just not the same feeling as, you're right, sinking down, down, down to the bottom of the lake and seeing a treasure chest and getting a heart container. There's some magic there.
I
Getting
guess
something special, not
Yeah.
like here's some apples.
I guess
Yeah.
we're leaning to is like thoughtful collectibles. Like shrines kind of do that, but there's just a lot of them. And when you get to a shrine, it's like, you know what to expect. All right, you're solving a puzzle right here.
Yeah.
Where you're saying is, this is more exploration and puzzle
Yeah.
kind of merging
Or
together.
quests.
Or quests.
They're
Whereas
like
in
a-
Breath of the Wild, if you go behind a waterfall, it's like, okay, you're right, you might get like one of those little
Korok
diamond
seeds.
patches or something, or a Korok seed, where it's not like, yeah, you're discovering like a heart container or something that is, I don't know, all that helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like I'm still going on my Ocarina train of thought here. I think it's just because the last one I played, but like having the big Goron sword, which is completely unnecessary, but totally you can have, and like you had to piece that thing together and have it forged and all that. Like having little side quests that are optional you could choose to do. Breath of the Wild didn't have too many of those. You know, like we had like the DLC, but that's not the same thing. I would like to have more of that. The trade sequences, you know, that involved like random encounters with people at certain times of day or certain things like that. That's all great stuff. That's why I play the game.
Can I go back to Zach's question real quick? Where the game mechanic that was present in a past Zelda game that we would like to see make a return in a future Zelda game. I thought of one other thing. It's not really a mechanic, but I really want, and it'll never happen, a sprite-based Zelda game again, like a 2D top-down sprites, like not a Link Between Worlds style where it's like the 3D model type thing, but like it looks like Link to the Past, Minish Cap. Yeah. They'll never do it ever again for Zelda or Pokemon, but man, do I love sprite work. I miss it. It's not popular with the newer generations. That's why they won't do it. Like something that looks like Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out at all.
Maybe someday it'll be like a nostalgic thing they'll go back to, but
I think it'd be it'd be something that they hand to somebody else to do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Cadence of Hyrule, I guess. Yeah, but
I can definitely see them doing it.
I miss it. I miss sprite based. I wish Pokemon would go back. I think that sprites have so much more charm. Yes. So much more charm than 3D models.
With Pokemon, I agree with you. Yep.
I'm not saying A Link Between Worlds looks bad. It's just different than what I want.
Yeah. No, and there's room for all things to exist.
Yes.
Right. Like that's the same thing with Mario. Like I want Mario to go back to sprite stuff.
Like I think, Mario's another good one. Like I love how the new Link's Awakening looks, but I miss sprite work too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they definitely could, or they definitely could work with somebody to do that. They're probably getting pitches night and day. Like after Cadence, like there's probably a bajillion people that are like, please let us make a Zelda game. So.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us this week here in the Nintendo Shack. Thank you for hanging out with us with episode 177, and we will catch you next week as we talk to Garrett about more Monster Hunter.
Play with Monster Hunter with me. Bye-bye.